So Bethesda may have just accidentally leaked an image of Starfield. And this is an extremely telling leak on multiple fronts. This is the leaked image itself. You might look at this and be like, okay, one, how do we know a hand-drawn image is legit? And two, how is this very telling? And the big answer to both of those is how exactly this was leaked, as I have uncovered where exactly this has come from. And this might be one of the biggest Starfield leaks yet, in that it may indicate we are right towards the end until we find out a lot more information. So the image was publicly made available in a Reddit post where it basically said it was found in Bethesda CDN, as well as it is titled the Starfield Breaker background. And if you clicked on the original image itself, it did have this link and URL associated with it, ending with Starfield Breaker background image.png. So immediately the search was on. Is this legit? Is this fake? Well, we could actually deduce that fairly easily, and the community was pretty quick to figure out where this came from. If you look at the URL to this image overall, it is pretty interesting. images.cdfassets.net/ and then a bunch of numbers and letters, more numbers and letters, then the actual image title itself with Starfield Breaker background image. And what community members quickly found was, if you go on the official starfield.bethesda.net website, inspect element and click on, for example, the Starfield logo image, it is almost exactly the same, or at least it starts off the same. That being images.ctfassets.net and then the same actual numbers and letters right there. So to break down what is actually going on here, because after doing a bit of digging myself and talking to some people, I think I've more or less figured it out. Bethesda uses Contentful as their CDN, that being their content delivery network. Images on Bethesda.net are hosted on Contentful. That's where you're seeing that cdfassets.net link. So when you go to an article, let's say it's inside the vault, all of those images on that page are hosted on this Contentful CDN. And the dead giveaway that confirms this leak is this assortment of numbers and letters, as this is the Contentful space ID, which functionally acts like a folder containing all of these images. So this confirms that the Starfield logo, as well as this Starfield Breaker background image, are hosted in the same folder on Contentful. This is not something anyone could just do. This is literally Bethesda's folder containing both of these things. So okay, we have some kind of confirmed image of Starfield. We're going to break down what is actually in the image itself in a moment, but what is the purpose of this? Why is this uploaded to Bethesda's CDN? And of course, what actually is a breaker background? And I think I figured out the answer to that one also, as if you do another inspect element on Bethesda.net and look for the word breaker, it is there all over. There's a ton of images actually labeled as a breaker, as that is the word Bethesda uses to describe these little boxes all over the page to click on to get to their articles or game news, etc. These are all called breakers, and you can see them all labeled as breakers. So what I think is going on here is this image uploaded to Bethesda CDN will eventually pop up on Bethesda.net's homepage, or a link somewhere. It'll be something there that you can click on to get more information about Starfield, like all these other breakers. But something else that makes this seem even way more likely, if you actually look at the image, it does have this weird cropping and transparency. Like, it is quite clearly cropped in a specific way across the top here, and it does have a transparency to it that was tastefully placed. It doesn't just seem like it was random. Even further, the crop of the image itself, it's kind of hard to see anything directly. Concept art or drawings of a variety of different things and some words and numbers associated with them. Like when you look at this image, it's not like there's a ton of easily digestible content here. It's kind of all over the place. Something that would fit on this homepage as a clickable link. And that makes a ton of sense. Bethesda is probably building out some kind of Starfield page on Bethesda.net right now, and this will be the image that you click on to get to that page. It just seems like for whatever reason, this image was accidentally uploaded to the public CDN, and it was intended to be uploaded to the private CDN, or it was just accidentally made public. Now, some people are claiming this is some kind of planted leak or a pre-E3 leak. I don't think that's the case, or I don't think that's too likely. I don't want to leak it myself, but there is another image on the CDN that hasn't been made public yet. That isn't super telling, but it's not something that they would just casually leak, or I don't think they would just casually leak, but who knows? Maybe it is planted. Just seems incredibly unlikely to me. But to me, this also says one big thing, and that is we hear about Starfield, but don't actually get Starfield or a full-on Starfield reveal yet, or at least maybe not at E3. Because if you look at this image, does this really look like an image that's going to be on Bethesda.net's homepage if they do a full reveal of Starfield. Like, if this really is going to be the breaker on the homepage, wouldn't you think there'd be like a nice in-game screenshot like all the other ones? This almost makes it feel like we get like some brief descriptions or some concept art of Starfield first and then a full reveal later on, or at least that's my interpretation. As though this image does have a lot for us when we know basically nothing about the game. If we actually had a reveal of the game, I feel like this kind of stuff wouldn't be that exciting. So on the hopeful side, maybe it's just going to be part of the earlier on teaser cycle. Like, we get a teaser of the game, some concept art or something, and the full reveal will come maybe a bit later in the summer. Or perhaps this year we just get some minor details on Starfield, as the game isn't actually coming until 2022. Either way, if we actually look at the image itself, there's still a lot of interesting stuff to break down about this one. Starting with some of the text or numbers we can see. It looks like on this left side, it almost says the end of liquid surface that is, then on the next line, it looks like it's craters, which is the end of a sentence or a comma, and then it has no. Then under that, a D, it doesn't have any. Then the last line, it's honestly really hard to dissect what that actually is. We see the numbers 74573.4 twice, which is actually pretty interesting, as one time it is just the numbers themselves, handwritten like the rest, but then the other time up the side of the image, it is representing the Starfield font, and it does look like it's typed out this time. And then the other words we could see are what look like gravitational equation. The numbers in particular are interesting to me as they appear twice, obviously, and once handwritten, once actually typed out in the right font. It could be a star date, which was something used in Star Trek. Using some online calculators, you get a few different responses, but 2397 could be one of the potential dates. Maybe that's the year Starfield, who really knows though? Or even converting it to a Julian date, we get February 8th, 2021, which seems very close to just be a coincidence. The watch is pretty cool in that it seems like this could almost be the Pip-Boy alternative we get in Starfield, as the actual face of this watch is very similar to the HUD from those leaked images we had in the past. The bottom being the O2 to CO2 meter, the top being that kind of sun or moon cycle, whatever that is. The time on the watch, which seems to read 2:10 or 2:20 p.m. The side of the watch seems to say SNA. This is what people initially took to actually confirm this or think this was a legit leak. As reportedly in some Starfield images that never leaked publicly, SNA actually does mean something or is something that matters in those images. This bottom right image actually looks super interesting, as it seems to be representative of what happened during the Apollo missions. Basically, during the Apollo missions, the rocket took off from Earth and then rotated around Earth in kind of a slingshot fashion. Use Earth's gravitational pull to actually build momentum and then slingshot its way off into the moon. And I mean, even just in this picture, it looks like you have a rocket with a lander on the top, very similar to what actually was used with the Apollo missions. Although something super interesting here, this little trident is actually the astrological symbol for Neptune. So perhaps this planet is in fact Neptune, or at least that's what's suggested here. And visually, it does look similar to Neptune. So perhaps Starfield actually takes place in our solar system. Right now, ever since they killed Pluto, Neptune is the furthest out planet in our solar system, which also could be noteworthy somehow. Those ships you can see in the top left are pretty interesting in that we could see a couple of them, but actually there are several more that are kind of blurred out or cut out by the fade on this image that we don't really get a good look at. I don't know about you, but to me, these very much so look like alien-made spaceships, or not like something that would be made by humans on Earth, and actually look quite distinctive to that other leaked spaceship image that is supposedly associated with Starfield. So could this be some kind of confirmation that aliens at least somewhat play a role in this game? Maybe, but it's really hard to tell. The bottom left is also super interesting. We clearly have what look like two planets or maybe two moons around some kind of city. It almost looks like a floating or space city. Outside of that, there's a few other minor things you could find, but overall, those are my takeaways from this image and just what this means overall. It's super interesting to me, as it really does seem like this is going to be a kickoff point for the teaser of Starfield. Now, hopefully this breaker image will be representative of a teaser that will later be followed by a full reveal and release in 2021, but at the very least, something clearly is happening. I do wonder if this getting leaked and as the coverage will likely ramp up more and more over the next 24 to 48 hours if Bethesda actually does something or starts teasing it themselves, like what happened with Rage 2. But either way, it seems like they may have accidentally shared a leak of their own game on their website. Hopefully you guys found this one informative. I'm definitely going to keep you up to date with whatever happens next. But with that said, I thank you all again for watching, and I hope to see you all later.